Hello, hi, monasteries, and welcome to your next lesson, which is on section 3, the essay writing for this section, which is also looking at inequalities in the USA. So, exam practice now. In an exam, you look to discuss the different reasons for social and economic inequality in the USA. Now, past exam paper questions include: to what extent does social and economic inequality exist? Worth 20 marks. Analyse the effects of a socio-economic issue on its people, 12 marks. Now, your question, which you're going to look to answer this week, is: to what extent does social and economic inequality exist? 20 marks. So, this question is asking you: to what extent is there social and economic inequality in the country that you're studying? So, you'll see this essay planning sheet here, which you can also use to help you to plan out your essay. You've again got the 12 mark and 20 mark intro examples. So, you'll see I've done the first paragraph here for you. So, you've got here: point, economic inequalities, income is unequal. So you've got evidence here where you've got the average annual income for white Americans, Asian Americans compared to Hispanics and African Americans, and you've got analysis evaluation there. So shows Hispanic and African Americans are more likely to earn less than white / Asian Americans and more likely to suffer inequality. Then you'll see here, unlike other essays where you normally have your rebuttal point, you're then just maybe expanding on this point or bringing in another inequality they face. So again, you've got point here: economic inequalities, the poverty rate is unequal. So pre-COVID, African Americans was 21%, Latinos 18%, whites 10%. So this shows African Americans in particular are twice as likely to be in poverty compared to white. So this is just to start you off here, so you could use this template to help you to fill in the rest of this essay planning sheet. So you've got there in the next paragraph: point, social inequalities in terms of healthcare. And then it's not a rebuttal, you're just telling us about another inequality. So you've then got there social inequalities in terms of education, social inequalities in terms of crime, social inequalities in terms of victims of crime / police shootings. There's not any mention of immigration here, so if you wanted to mention immigration as being a social inequality, you could. You'll even see in your second paragraph where you've got point, social inequalities in terms of healthcare. If you wanted to do the whole paragraph on healthcare and just do another point where you're speaking a bit more about healthcare, then that's totally fine as well. So your introduction to this essay. So what you look to do for your introduction. So some would argue that social and economic inequality is very prominent in the USA. Citizens suffer social and economic inequality in terms of, so you can speak about their poverty rates, unemployment, crime, healthcare, whatever it is that you're discussing in your essay. It could be argued social and economic inequality is / is not a major issue in America. So you decide if you think it is or it is not a major issue in America. That's your clear line of argument there, which gets you a structure mark. Okay, I've done an example paragraph here just to show you how one would look for this essay. Now, you can use this if you want to, or you could do your own, it's up to you. So we've got here: one area that Americans suffer inequality is through economic inequality. So there's your point. Although the USA is known as the land of opportunity and it attracts millions of immigrants every year, its society is anything but equal, with different groups in America in an investment more on average than other groups. So you've explained that there. So that gets a mark. In 2017, the median income for white Americans was $68,145, followed by $50,486 for Hispanic Americans and $40,258 for Black Americans. Asian Americans are an economically successful ethnic group, and on average $81,331, much more than white Americans on average. So that's your example there, so you get a mark there. Then you need to analyse this example. So what is this showing us in terms of inequalities? So this highlights that certain ethnic groups, Hispanics and the African Americans in particular, are consistently disadvantaged as they are earning less on average and are more likely to suffer inequality. So you've analysed that point there. However, there are other issues with economic inequality. So rebuttal. So notice, unlike other essays here or paragraphs that you may do, you're just expanding on this point. So you're not saying here, however, this isn't a reason why they suffer inequalities, you're just expanding on it. So in particular, levels of poverty pre-COVID, despite being lower than recent years, are unequal among certain groups. In terms of poverty levels, African Americans stood 21%, Latinos 18%, and whites 10%. This highlights that Black Americans are more than twice as likely to be in poverty compared to white Americans, a massive gap in equality. This problem will only have been made worse during the COVID-19 pandemic, as many African Americans work in the hospitality industry, which has been one of the hardest hit during the pandemic. So you've analysed that point there in terms of poverty rates. Overall, it's clear Hispanic and African Americans suffer from economic inequalities on a much larger scale compared to white and Asian Americans, not only earning less on average, but both being more likely to be in poverty. This shows that economic inequality is very apparent in America. So sub-conclusion. So overall there, 4 KU marks, 2 analysis / evaluation marks, and then sub-conclusion marks. So that would be 7 marks in total. Your conclusion for this essay. So as set out, it's clear that social and economic inequality is very prominent in the USA. Citizens suffer socio-economic inequality in terms of, so discuss the areas that you looked at. It could be argued this is a major issue in America, particularly in terms of, and tried to mention here which groups are hardest hit, so particularly in terms of African Americans and Hispanic Americans being the hardest hit by this inequality. So over to you. So what you'll do is to use this PowerPoint and notes from the previous week and this week to complete your essay and upload this via Teams. You can also type this up or write it up. It's up to you. If you have any issues about anything discussed in this presentation, then just let myself or Miss McEnroe know. Thank you.